Hello and welcome back to Rams Talk Podcast. We're here today after a pretty eventful game against Burton Albion. It was coined the A38 derby. I don't know how much I like that, but we've called it that all the same. A 3-2 win at home, which I think we very much needed, especially when it was at 2-2. Joining me today, I've got the man with the worst moustache in Derby, Adam Titley. How are you, mate?
The best moustache, I think. No, I'm good, mate. I'm good, mate. Better after that win, to be honest. Point off top. What more can you ask for?
Exactly, and we'll definitely get onto that. I'd just like to say there's a few people that have come to me and said he needs to shave that off. People I don't even know have come to me at the ground and said he needs to shave it off, which is quite funny. We're also joined by Callum Boocock. How are you, Cal?
Yeah, I'm all good. Recovered from the frostbite from last night. So I said that was probably one of the coldest games I've been at in a long while.
You definitely weren't at Bradford. Bradford was 100 times worse, trust me. And last but certainly not least, we've got Vic Singh. How are you, Vic?
Good evening, guys. How you doing? Got 3 points, so can't complain, can I?
No, you certainly can't complain. Although we might do a little bit of that in this episode because, as Jim Johnson said in the comments, he's got no fingernails left. I certainly didn't after that. I mean, Adam, first thing we've got to talk about, Derby early on completely controlled the game, threw it away in the second half in typical Derby at home in 2024 fashion. And then last minute, Conor Hurahan, who else, pops up edge of the box with a lovely half volley into the bottom corner. I mean, from an emotions perspective, how are you feeling?
Well, it's brilliant, isn't it? I think one thing is, I think we've all been waiting for Conor Hurahan to pop up with one of their moments. I think after all the goal compilations we've been watching of him at Aston Villa and Barnes, we've been waiting for that moment from him. And he's duly delivered. But yeah, what a time to win a game. It's always good at the end of the match, isn't it? We've been treated to it, obviously away at Oxford and now at home at Pride Park against Burton Albion. So yeah, a great way to win the match in the end, I think.
Yeah, it certainly was. It certainly was. And Cal, I mean, I don't know about you. I kind of felt like when they equalised, I felt in a depressing way, all hope was lost because we looked completely out of it. We created a few chances, but they looked somehow like the team that was better to score. I thought they were really poor, but they did really well to get back into the game. But to score in the last minute with the way that we scored, you could see what it meant to all the players. We talked a little bit before recording about how it means, when you win 3-0, it's great, but to come back from a little bit of adversity like that, it must be a real boost for the players, mustn't it?
Oh, massive. I think we needed another result like that after last week's cup performance, where probably they felt a bit dejected, losing to a lower half opposition, and you kind of go look at it and go, when the fan base, as we are, screaming out for consistent performances and we haven't got it, it just puts to bed that ill feeling when you're leaving the ground, when you're going away from a 3-2 win last minute. You kind of, everything that the last 90 minutes kind of goes to the back of your head until you probably wake up the next morning and go, well, that was a bank average performance. But on the night, you leave the ground and you're happy. So no, I think that for the players, a win's a win. As Adam says, we're joint second now, obviously third in the table, but we're now looking up with only one or two teams above us, with 1 or 2 points above us. Where a few months ago we were kind of looking at it going, automatics are way off.
Well, and Vic, I mean, I've got the stats here in front of me. May have stolen a few from you earlier in the chat, but 10 wins from 12, which is pretty unbelievable going. You look at the 2 games that we didn't win. That was a 1-1 draw with Wycombe, where Joe Ward decided he didn't want us to win, and the 3-2 defeat against Peterborough, which was stupid and ridiculous in its own right. I mean, Burton was nearly the same. 9 wins from 12 doesn't quite have the same ring to it. How important was it that Derby managed to get the 3 points yesterday?
I think it's important for the momentum. I think because obviously we'd seen how the weekend had panned out with all the other fixtures. It gave us like a benchmark to sort of aim for. And I think with us, the win was huge because it's just put us in a position where not only is just second place available, but also top spot. Now we've heard Warren talk about wanting to win this league, and now it looks like a real possibility. With the position we put ourselves in, 10 wins from 12 is no mean feat. We know that Paul Warren has The poor ones teams tend to do well at this period. It just depends on what happens February onwards. The usual Derby February
It's not
curse
just
comes
Paul
along.
Warne, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, so like we know all that's yet to come, but while we're on this good run, let's enjoy it. If we look back to October when we lost to Stevenage, we never thought we'd be in this position. So let's keep it going. It just also goes to show how poor the league actually is in terms of quality. So let's hope we can get out of this league as soon as possible. The win was massive, and hopefully we can continue this good run of form.
Exactly. We've got a comment from Dennis Vesey who's saying, how many games have Derby won with Adams Tash? I think it's 10. I think it's 10 out of 12.
That'd be a stat I'm actually interested in.
It is. It certainly is. I mean, Adam, you look at the game yesterday. Let's go all the way back to the start. Let's rewind. First off, I thought Burton were absolutely terrible. They barely touched the ball. And I thought Derby actually, I don't think we were incredible, but we played well and we controlled the game pretty easily. I mean, the goal, great flick on from John Jules, who we'll get onto in a little bit about him staying. Good ball across from Mendes-Lang, easy tap in for Barkhuizen. You've got two players there, Mendes-Lang and Barkhuizen, that are in top form going forwards at the minute. I mean, we've talked about getting players in, and I really do hope we bring more reinforcements in. But how much of a boost is it to see our attacking players getting goals and assists when we need them most?
I think it's massive. I think we spent a long while talking about how Mendes-Lang needed a rest because he looked like he needed one, and now he's got that, he's on top form. And I think I for one definitely spoke about Barkhuizen's purple patch form last season, and it seems almost like he's coming into that again this season, which is great to see. Although I do think Barkhuizen's finishing isn't the best if he's any more than 20 yards from goal. I have to say that. But there, he's putting the ball in the back of the net, and that's all that matters at the end of the day when getting the points. And when it's coming from two wingers, you're just looking now for the striker to score the goals, and James Collins is scoring at the minute as well. So it's a big boost for us that our front three is putting the ball in the back of the net at such a critical time when other teams are dropping points higher above us. And that 10 wins in 12 is massive. And it's good to see that the goals are coming from all over the pitch, because I think last season, David McGoldrick was absolutely superb. But I think this season now there's more of an onus on players scoring goals from all over the pitch, rather than, how many goals we scored through McGoldrick was singular last season. Now it's coming from multiple players.
I mean, it's interesting, Callum, because Adam talks about goals coming from all over the pitch. And the team that I look at with that is Plymouth last year. Now, obviously, they lost Morgan Whittaker in January, which, was a huge problem for them. They didn't seem to have any issues, and they carried on and ended up going up. But they didn't really have an out-and-out, David McGoldrick, 25 goal a season striker. They just had goals coming from everywhere and were a really good team. I'm not saying we play the same way, because we certainly don't. They're a bit more exciting than us, and we're probably a bit more pragmatic than them. But can you see some similarities between teams that have gone up in recent years and this Derby team?
Yeah, well, more recently I have. Obviously, at the start of the season and midway through at the back end, you kind of look at it going, we weren't chipping in with goals left, right and centre. It's only over the last couple of months where we have done. And I have seen similarities, as you said. I think when you've got an onus on one player or one or maybe two players, you're spelling trouble for yourselves, because I think every player goes through a patch of bad form. And if you only are relying on one player like we were last year, you're only one injury away or one moment of bad form away from derailing a season. And I think that the fact that we've managed to get 2, 3, 4 players chipping in with goals, but chipping in with goals regularly, it means that you're able to maintain challenges, maintain wins when maybe certain players are off it in certain games. I thought Mendes-Lang was all right last night on the counter attack, but overall he was nullified a little bit, and it meant that Barkhuizen and Collins have had to chip in elsewhere.
And that's interesting, isn't it, Vic? Because, I mean, it's weird. We've come out of it. We've scored 3 goals. We've scored a last-minute winner. I don't really think we played that well last night. I know, obviously, first half we looked decent, and I thought we controlled the game. But I think Burton let us control the game. I thought they looked massively off it, especially first half. And then second half, Mendes-Lang gets his pocket picked. Still don't know if it was a foul or not. And that sort of sends us into free fall. And so many players look really shaky. We'll get onto individual players in a minute, but you look at it and you think, we're not playing incredibly well, but we're still winning games. Is that a good thing, or are you a little bit worried that maybe, if our best players aren't performing, we might struggle?
I'd like to say it's a good thing. I mean, champions are normally made of teams that seem to find a way to win, and we seem to be doing that quite a lot this season. It does worry me if one or two key players do get injured, but like we said, if we can get January right and get the right players in, get the recruitment spot on, hopefully get a bit more squad depth, then we might be okay. But like we said, you've got to win ugly to get the points on the board, and we've probably been winning ugly all season, if I'm honest. But, it's got us into this position where we are now. We've got 50, 51, 52 points, point off top spot. If it's working, we don't want to change that. So it's interesting. But like I said, champions are made by winning ugly and finding ways to win. And luckily at Derby, we seem to be doing that at the minute.
Yeah, it is lucky. It is lucky, and I think there is a bit of an element of luck to it. To be honest, I think lucky ricochet sort of falls down to Hurahan, who uses his quality to score in the 93rd minute. If not, we've given away 3 points or 2 points for pretty much no reason, under no pressure at all. So yeah, I think there is a little bit of an element of luck to it. But one thing I want to talk about, Adam, and we've got a comment here from Amana who says, do you think you can maintain a title fight if you lose Bird in this window? Now, I want to talk to you about the midfield. Jamie, who's often on this podcast, is the biggest hater of Derby's midfield of anyone I think I've ever met. To be honest, I understand why. I think Hurahan and Bird are excellent players, and I think a lot of the time the system doesn't quite work. Now, interestingly, last night I thought Hurahan, I know he passed the ball out of play a few times, but most of the time it's to Callum Elder, who I'm not looking forward to talking about in about 5 minutes. I thought he controlled the game completely, and I thought he played really well. I mean, he took his goal brilliantly. He was the link between that defence and that attack, and Bird was the same. But defensively, we looked wide open again. I mean, Adam, we played that weird 4-2-3-1 or 4-4-1-1 or whatever Paul Warne wants to call it. Do you think it suited us, or did we look a little bit open?
I thought it's difficult because we've had this conversation about Horahan and Bird in the same team probably since Horahan walked through the door, because of, I would say, how similar their attributes are and how you fit both of them into the team. And they are both so good for us. I think yesterday I thought, yeah, we did look a little bit open, but you think when looking with both players in, you think we'd be a little bit better defensively with both them players in there, especially when I would say they're both more attributed to playing the ball out from the more deeper in midfield than further forward. But it's difficult to see where, I think, like I say, it goes back to the conversation of we've all talked about how getting Conor Horahan and Max Bird into the same team is so difficult, and I think we're almost missing that attacking midfielder who can sit just in front of them. I think we are missing that at the moment. We've either got a winger or a forward sitting in behind rather than a main attacking midfielder. I think that's what we all wanted Louis Sibley to be, but unfortunately, at the minute, it looks like it's one of them situations where Louis Sibley. Yeah, he pops up with a goal once in a while, but it's ultimately where you just know that probably moving on is best for his career as well as Derby County's career. Probably at the moment, it's one of them situations. But I think we are missing that key midfielder. I think it's difficult because defensively, I look at Conor Horan and Max Bird and wonder why they both can't, or one of them can't sit in front of that defence, and it'd be a little bit tighter at the back and less chances going through. I thought first half, like you said, I thought we were brilliant. I thought going forward, I thought we were quite good, and I don't really think Burton Albion had a chance at goal where I was worried. Second half, obviously, it changed. But I thought Conor Horan did really well sitting in that deep position, and so did Max Bird. But I think we're missing a key player, and hopefully January will bring that addition in.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Callum, look at that midfield. Adam raised a point, and I spent a little bit of time watching Bird and Horahan because I'm a boring man. And I was just watching their positions, especially when we picked up the ball. And it's no surprise that we get hit on the break quite a lot, especially down the middle. When we pick up the ball, Bird will go left, Horahan will go right, or Horahan will go left and Bird will go right. And we end up having no one in the middle. And Burton Albion's midfield was very rigid. They stuck to their positions, and they stayed really central to try and hold that, central area. And it just meant that every time Burton won the ball, there was an enormous gap down the middle. And we've done that a few times in recent games. And it's obviously a part of what Wall wants to do. He wants to play it. Do you think there's a possible sort of it's a symptom of the way Warren wants to play that we look so exposed, because there's been some games where Adam's mentioned, you'd expect Bird and Hourihane to sit in, and there's games when they have, and I think they've done it well. I can remember Hourihane, for a player who runs through sand every time he tries to pick up some speed, he's putting some last ditch blocks and things like that. And he's not the sort of player you expect to be doing that. So when you look at it, do you think it's partly down to the system that we play, or is it just the fact that the two of them can't play that central midfield position together?
I'm massively against us kind of putting they can't play together factor. I think they're good enough players at a good enough level to be able to sit there and do a good enough job. I think the biggest thing for me is that when we play teams who are sitting and don't want to get broken down, they go then to assist the wider players with link-up play, which means that they get drawn out. Hourihane goes left, Berg goes right, which leaves you exposed down the middle. I think that when we play teams who are more coming at us, they are more rigid and they stick to central positions. So I don't know if it's the way Paul wants to play, or if it's just the teams that we're playing and they're having to get more involved to give the wide men a little bit of help. I think that the way that Paul wants to play with the central midfielders, they've got to be athletic, they've got to be box-to-box midfielders. We know how he wants to play. It's all energy, and I think that maybe a couple of times they get too involved when they don't need to be. Because I think the wide players at the end of the day, just you can leave Mendes Lang on his own. Just let him do his thing and let Wilson on his own do his thing. I don't need Hourihane out on the left trying to take on players. I need him down the middle, because every single time last night, they just deflected a cross that came out to the edge of the box, and we had no one there. And they just hoof it down the field.
But we did have someone there in the 93rd minute, Callum, and that's the
that's the one time we wanted him.
No, I agree. I mean, we've got a couple of comments here. One about Adam's moustache, which is why if you're watching on video, you can see me and Adam both burst out laughing. But there's a couple of comments about using Liam Thompson in the middle, and I think it's an interesting point, Vic, because as I said, we've sort of played John Jules in that attacking midfield role, and I know he's meant to be an attacker midfielder / striker. I don't think he looked comfortable there, to be honest. I know it's just his first game in that position, but I don't think he looked comfortable there. And obviously, defensively, he doesn't get involved at all. Whereas if you've got those three, you've got a sort of mix of everything. Would you like to see us change it and bring Thompson into the midfield? Or, is it one of those where we want to keep playing more attacking players to give Collins more of a chance to score goals?
I think it just depends on the opposition, really. I think if we're playing someone quite close to us in that top 6, top 10 area, then I think we might have to sort of change the system a bit. Maybe that's where Thompson comes in. But other than that, like you're right about John Jules. I didn't think he looked comfortable yesterday. Admittedly, he did get the flick on for I think it was the first goal. So that's what I mean. So like, I've always thought he's better off as a second striker or maybe playing as one of the wingers, but. Like I said, I think it just depends on the opposition. I think we're playing teams that are going to come at us. I think Thompson needs to start just because the energy's there. It'll match their midfield, and hopefully we can get a grip in the midfield battle, because we seem to be losing a lot of midfield battles this season. But yeah, I'd probably like to stick him in against the better opposition, against the lower teams like your Burtons and Fleetwood. And it doesn't really matter in that sense, because we can sort of play our way and just win the game. Whereas against the better sides, I think we'll need to change it up. So I think that's where Thompson's going to be our sort of like our talisman in the midfield.
Yeah, we'll see. And there's some players that we really want to talk about, and we all picked them out before recording. You look at our, I guess, back 5, back 4 and goalkeeper. I thought 3 of the 4 were exceptional. I thought Kane Wilson was brilliant again. It was absolutely his sort of game, a team that sits off and he can run from those deep positions and cause loads of problems. But I thought Callum Elder and Josh Vickers had really, really poor games. I mean, Elder especially was terrible for the majority of the game. And, you don't like to write off a player, but I think Callum Elder's really not impressed since he's come in, Adam. I mean, he looked miles off it yesterday. He seemed pretty nervous every time he got the ball. And the mistake for Burton's second goal, which, would have cost us 2 points if Hourihane didn't pop up at the end, was it was inexcusable, wasn't it? You look at, I've watched it a few times, and it looks like he just doesn't know what to do. picks both options, which were both wrong, and lets Hugo run through on goal for a 1-on-1. I mean, Elder came in with a lot of fanfare, didn't he? Been at Hull for a long time. I thought he was a really good player at Hull. Every time I'd seen him play, I thought he looked really solid. He's come to Derby, and much like Joe Ward, he looks like he's never played football before, especially not at this level. What do you reckon? What are your thoughts?
Well, we've got a couple of players this season I think who've come in and looked shaky on the ball, when in the past maybe they've been a bit more composed.
Is there another? Who are you thinking of there?
You know where this way we're going. But no, Callum Elder, I don't think this is the first time he's been at fault for a goal, unfortunately. I think Fleetwood away gave the ball away, and that's where Fleetwood's goal came in, because if I'm right, I think the guy just whipped it straight in for a cross and it was nodded in. I think Callum Elder, I think he is trying hard, but I just think at the moment he's just looked so panicky on the ball. Just seems to not be making the right decisions at the moment. He's been sort of drip-fed games, I think, coming off the bench here and there, coming in. I think maybe it is a case of he'll come in and have one good game and that'll be it. He'll be flying and back to form, but you've got to question, when does that game come? Because at the moment we've not seen him at his best at all. And I agree with you, Jay. I think he looked good at Hull. I think he looked a very solid Championship player, just someone that's Mr. Reliable. And unfortunately with Derby, it's just not happened at the moment. And when does that one game come in where we see the switch of him having a good game? I'm not too sure. Yes, we're getting further in the Bristol Street. Well, no, we've been knocked out of the Bristol Street Motor Cup. I was going to say we could put him in games there. We can't put him in there anymore. So ignore me on that one. But it's a case of, I mean, you'll probably see Craig Forsyth come straight back in, I would say, for Elder, because at the moment his form's not good enough. And with Warne, dropping Wildsmith for not being at high performance levels, you do have to think, when Craig Forsyth's back fit, surely Callum Elder won't be in that side with the way he's playing at the moment.
It must be hilarious being Craig Forsyth, mustn't it? Because he's been here 10 years. How many times have we brought in another left back to try and replace him? I mean, Marcus Olsen, there's one. Who else to be? Ashley Cole. Callum Elder was brought in. There's quite a few seasons where we've brought in left backs, and who do we always turn back to? Good old Craig Forsyth. He's always there. He's always reliable. But Callum, I mean, one of the things that Adam touched on was, he's been drip-fed games, and that is one thing that I think he just looks low on confidence. He's been injured for a lot of the season. I remember right at the start of the season, that Blackpool game, miscommunication between him and, ironically, Vickers led to him just diving headed it across goal for an open net. Actually, I'd completely forgot about it until just now, which is another funny one to add to the list. But does he just strike you as a player that's low on confidence? Can he turn it around? And do you believe he can? And you can't say, because his name's Callum, you can't use that excuse anymore. We're too far in now.
Yeah, I've got to say, I think I've worn that one out, haven't I? No pun intended. But when I'm looking at Callum Elder, I don't know if it's just the style of play that we play. I think Hull seemed more passive, probably had more time on the ball in the Championship. He didn't probably get told, you've got to get it forward at the first instance or get it forward early. So you don't have, so when he's thinking about getting the ball off either Cashin or a midfielder, he's not going to look straight away and get it forwards. He probably had a little bit more time. It just looks like he's, every time as you two have said, he's panicking, he's getting it, and he's got to get it gone straight away up the line. And he's looking that he's got 2 or 3 things going on in his mind, or things that he wants to do. And by that time, he's either lost the ball or it's gone out of play. He's touched it out. And as I say, the prime example being the last man on the halfway line. And you all you need to do is just get something on it, lump it out. I don't care. You're the last man. You don't need to do anything pretty. And you pick all the wrong decisions and you fall over. So I think that he is a player that is consistent. He's shown it in the Championship, in the division above. So there's no reason why he shouldn't be putting it in League One. I think it's just he at the moment is void of confidence, and it can't help when you've made a mistake like that, and you know it yourself as a professional when you've made a mistake like that, and you get pulled off by your manager, and a midfielder in Louis Sibley comes on in your place, and you're walking around the pitch on a cold Monday night. Kind of not having any fans kind of giving you that reception or anything like that. So it's not going to help him from what happened last night. And I think we've either got to stick with him and give him a shot again, or he gets iced out and gets brought back in at a later date.
You sound like you're talking about like a racehorse who's had a few bad races. Yeah, we can keep giving him a chance, but if he doesn't pick it up, you know what's coming next. But I mean, it's interesting you talk about that, because we look at players that have come in their mistakes. I mean, we've got 4 players that I think have come in and made pretty horrendous mistakes leading to goals. You've obviously got Alder's mate, Sonny Bradley. You've got Callum Elder. You've got Joe Ward. But the other one is Curtis Nelson. And first game of the season, he completely messes up, gives a goal away. And he turned it around and he switched it up. Whereas the other 3, I don't think have turned it around at all. I think all 3 of them have sort of gone back into their shell a little bit. I think we just need more from them, and I just hope that people keep backing them. I know obviously we're criticising them here, but we're not fully writing them off, and you'll still back them when they're playing. But it's just difficult, isn't it? I mean, Vic, another player, and I've come to you because, again, last week we had this conversation. We were talking about you've got a beard, he's got a beard. You've got so much in common, but your distribution's far better than his. It's Josh Vickers. Again, Wildsmith was dropped after a few dodgy games, and it makes sense. You've got Vickers, who's a more than capable League One goalkeeper. And yesterday, he just looked wobbly. I mean, balls were coming into the box. Someone called him Bearded Roos, which did make me laugh, but also feel a bit of sympathy at the same time. And he was just flapping at every cross, punching it away. He didn't look comfortable with the ball at his feet. I hope it's a one-off. And I hope if he does play against Lincoln that he can, turn it back around, get his composure back a little bit. But at the same time, Vic, you look at a goalkeeper and you're like, you've come in for a keeper that's been good for a year and a half. He's got to step up, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd put it down to just being a run of games. Maybe he needs a run of games to sort of shake off any cobwebs. However, if I was Wildsmith right now, I'd be looking at these performances and thinking, right, I've got a chance to get back into this side. Let's work hard in training and try and win that shirt back. Vickers is obviously a good keeper. His record shows that at this level. For me, I just think he maybe needs 2 or 3 more games. And if he's still shaky, if he's still not performing to the way we need him to, then by all means bring Wildsmith back in. But yeah, I'm just putting it down to maybe it's just confidence. And I think, like, even referring back to Joe Ward and Callum Elder, they're all confidence players. The reason why Curtis Nelson bounced back from his mistake was because he's got that mentality. He's a strong-minded player who can overcome any adversity, whereas the other lads need a bit of a pat on the back and need an arm around the shoulder. And maybe Vickers is the same. I mean, it's quite difficult to come in mid-season as well. Obviously, bearing in mind that we're in the mix, it's quite difficult to change keepers mid-season. But you'd also expect someone of that quality to just walk straight into the side and be good. So if I was Wildsmith, I'd be rubbing my hands. But hopefully Vickers can improve his form, because I quite like him as a keeper.
Just about got there, Vic. I think you lagged halfway through every sentence then, but we got it. I agree. And obviously he's not had the easiest time in his personal life either. I just hope that, he's been brought into the team in quite a high pressure environment at a difficult part of the season. So let's hope he can pick himself up and not be the bearded Roos. No one wants that. Nobody wants that. You don't want that tag. We've got a comment from Mike Elbeer that's quite interesting. He's put, have to remember Ward and Elder were brought in to play wing back. It's interesting. I mean, Elder's played as a fullback for the majority of his career. Vic's gone by. Elder's played as a fullback for the majority of his career. And I mean, Kane Wilson's adapted quite well as well to playing just as a right back. So, it's an interesting one, but we'll see. We'll see, won't we? We will see. Hello, Vic. You're back. You enjoy your trip
Nice
away?
to join us. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I had to change my route. I turned my Wi-Fi off, and it should be better now, hopefully.
Good stuff. I mean, one of the things we need to talk about, and I think it's important to stress, we're not being negative here. We're just looking at the bits that aren't necessarily as good. I think, the run of form we're on is incredible. To be in the position we're in, we're 1 point off top with a game in hand. Now, that is some position to be in, considering where we were in September time. But there are things to improve on, and that's why we're here. That's why we have these conversations. We want to hear your thoughts as well. So keep letting us know in the comments. It's been interesting to read it. Adam, one of the questions I've got for you is to do with Derby overall. And We saw it at Peterborough. We saw it against Burton. We'd take the lead, and then there'd always be a moment of real complacency, and we'd give a silly goal away. We did it in an away game recently. I can't remember. Was it Fleetwood recently, where again we switched off and gave a really silly goal away? Are we getting a little bit overconfident? Are we getting a little bit complacent? Is it, are we switching off? Is it a mental thing? What do you think it's down to that we keep giving goals away from winning positions?
I think it's something that we've done since Paul Warren's been in at Derby County. I feel like I know I've got a couple of friends who said the same thing. Like Derby, once we go, I think especially away from home, once we take the lead, it's let's sit back and try and sit on this for as long as we can before the next goal comes. And more often than not, it comes back to bite us in the fact that Fleetwood got their goal from a bit of complacency in a game where we should have been winning comfortably by the time Fleetwood got any sort of chance. And then it's just that idea of sitting back and defending when we're in a winning position, when I feel like we've got a good enough team to go and get more goals, I think. And we've seen that recently. Burton Albion was just complacency. Yes, you can argue was it a foul or not, but scores the goal. And I think it's something that's been a part of Paul Warren's team since he's come into Derby. I think more recently we've seen more goals come from it, but also we're scoring more goals than what we used to. I think under Paul Warren at the moment. So I think it's just the nature of the way we're playing. We are outscoring teams at the minute, even if at the back we have been a little bit complacent. And I think a couple of fans would agree we're not playing our best football at the minute. We're not in our our best gear of football, and I think we're still yet to see that come later on this season. I think we've seen some really good wins away from home and at home so far this season, and we've stepped it up a level. I didn't think we needed to step it up a level against Burton Albion. I didn't think we needed to step it up a level against Fleetwood. So it's understandable that a couple of goals have come from complacency. It's just a factor that we have to consider when it's Paul Warren's style of play at the moment, but we are scoring more goals as well.
You sounded like one of them then, Adam. The ones that are like, we're still in second gear. Wait till you see us in third gear. Well, I hope that's true. That'd be nice, wouldn't it, if it was true? But Callum, just to sort of build on that point, we do seem to sit back when we score, and I get it, right? I get it. You want to consolidate. You don't want to take too many risks, but sometimes you think, we've talked about the handbrake more than enough times on this podcast, but you look at it and you think, that Burton game, especially when we conceded that goal, we should really have gone for it, because every time we went for it, Burton had nothing. They had no reply. We had them penned in, and it completely killed them. But the second we sat off and let them have the ball and let them keep the ball, all of a sudden the pressure was on us, and that's where their second goal came from. And yeah, I guess same question to you, mate. What are your thoughts, and how can we improve it?
Well, listening to Warren after the game, it's not something they're obviously coaching, because he said the middle part of the game when we went 2-0 up, he hated. He said, like, why are we standing off them? Why we this is the moment when we should be on the ball, taking the game away from them, and then inviting them out, and then catching them up when they've obviously tried to press us. So it's not obviously a coaching thing. Obviously, to what he says, it's player management on the pitch. And I don't know if it's just like you said, you're 2-0 up, you're kind of coasting. If they got the ball, as long as it's in their half, they're all right. But then as soon as they catch you, like they did for their opening goal, you can't let a left back run from the halfway line and stick it in the net. It's just, that's just bad defending, end of. So I think that when we're going forward, I don't know if it's a mentality issue with the squads. It's been hinted at with a couple of player interviews and a couple of Warren interviews that it's not really something that he says. He said, I can't coach that. It's just down to the mentality of the team. And is that worrying to hear when you're going for a title a little bit, or when you're going for a top two? But when you're maybe at this point, you're 10 wins out of 12, should we really be like, at the moment we're trying to outscore teams. That's the way it seems, rather than trying to see out games or going for the jugular, as the old cliche goes. When you're 2-0 on, you go for the third and you go for the fourth.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a difficult one, because I thought we scored 3 goals yesterday, and I don't think we really went for it at any point. I can't remember many parts of the game where we were sort of battering down the door. We just kind of kept the ball and didn't let them touch it, and let the likes of Mason Bennett sprint around and try and catch up. How poor was he, by the way? He was rubbish.
Would you if you had 25,000 baying for blood?
I've never seen a player run off the pitch faster than when he got subbed off. He sprinted. I thought he was going to go down the tunnel, but he went and hid.
I did like his overhead kick attempt, though. If that went in, I think there would have been 25,000 people on that pitch because I was waiting for that celebration.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing better than that was Curtis Nelson flattening him in the first half. That was brilliant. I'll have to try and find a clip of that and put it on Twitter because, it made me laugh quite. It was right in front of me as well. It was good. He, definitely got what he deserved there. Definitely still loved it, Mason Bennett, as you can tell. And one more thing that I guess we really need to talk about is incomings. Paul Warne said after the game he's going to watch a player today. I don't know which one of you, it might be you, Vic, in the chat, saying that Callum Lang, he might have been watching Callum Lang. I think Wigan played today. He's an interesting one. We've got other names. We've got Corey Blackett-Taylor, who's a name that won't go away. No, we were after him in the summer, so it makes sense. Michael Smith, another one we were after in the summer, hasn't featured a lot for Sheff Wednesday, scored a few goals, scores bucket loads in League One whenever he's here. Charlie Savage, which is one that Paul Warne said isn't true. Robbie Savage disagrees. Robbie Savage is obviously a very reliable guy, as we all know, so I'm sure he wouldn't lie. And then you've also got John Jules, who it seems is done, and we're going to have until the end of the season and potentially sign him on a free. I mean, there's a lot of names there, pretty much all of them attackers, which is always fun. Vic, I mean, looking at those names, which one excites you the most?
I think just for his pure pace, I think Corey Blackett-Taylor. I think if you've got him and Mendes Lang on the wings, and then you've obviously got Barkhausen who could either push further forward or as a backup winger, you've got some serious pace there.
Wilson and Ward,
and this is what I mean. You've got some dangerous attacking talent there. So they all excite me. I'm glad John Jules is sticking around. He's starting to sort of look good. He's played 85 minutes yesterday, which was nice to see. So he's getting that match fitness back, and I think it'll be quite important. I think he'll score some important goals come end of the season. But Corey Blackett-Taylor looks really exciting. Charlie Savage is an unknown entity. I've looked at what he was like at United, and they rated him pretty highly up until he did leave. So you never know with him. Could that be a replacement for Max Bird? Maybe, you never know. But yeah, I think Corey Blackett-Taylor is the one that excites me. Callum Lang's not bad either. That's why I mentioned him in the chat earlier. So if he is looking at him, I think where does he play? Is it midfield or winger?
He's a winger or striker.
I don't think he's actually playing tonight, unfortunately.
He's already
because he's at more farm. Yeah,
let's get him in.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's nice to see us linked with some really good attacking talent. Hopefully, we can get a couple of them in and push this promotion charge all the way up.
Let's hope so. And the Godfather in the chat's come up with an interesting one. He said Owen Moxon from Carlisle. Now, I remember I did the Carlisle preview on here, and they were raving about Owen Moxon. And I thought, even though we played Carlisle off the park on the day, he was the one player that impressed me. He's a central midfielder and would probably play that midfield role that we really, really need, linking up the defence and attack and also providing a physical presence too. So, yeah, that's a good shout. And, yeah, I hope Paul Warne's watching him too. I mean, signings-wise, Adam, we've looked at a lot of strikers. Obviously, we have 3,000 right-backs, but only one's allowed to be fit at once. We're missing a left-back. Fozzie might be out for a long period of time. It was a long, unspecified period, which I thought was a strange comment. Is he just trying to make people think that he's out for a long time, or is he actually out? You've also got potential outgoings. I mean, Max Bird goes on a free at the end of the season. We seem to talk about this every week. If he went, would you want us to bring in the likes of Charlie Savage or, Owen Moxon or any midfielder to sort of fill that gap?
Yeah, I think something that we have to bear in mind is so many Derby County fans have also said, why can't we look at players from lower down in divisions, which so many League One clubs have done. League One clubs have specifically looked towards the conference or League Two, specifically Stevenage. Who have looked at many players in League Two to bring with them to League One who are performing now at quite a good level. So I think looking at players around us and also, no disrespect to Carlisle, but a team which is struggling at the minute in League One, I think is a good idea. The fees aren't going to be as high as what we'd be doing if we were looking at a player maybe in the Championship, and also the wages aren't going to be anywhere near what the players in the Championship are coming from onto. So I think it is a good idea. I think Max Bird, I think everybody knows he's going to be going in the summer, don't they? I think it would take a lot to convince him to stay, and also he deserves a chance at playing in the Championship again. Because let's be real, we're not nailed on to go up this season at all. He does deserve a shot at playing in the Championship. And me, I like the sound of Charlie Savage. Obviously Robbie Savage's kid. I was a big Robbie Savage fan as a child. Had his number on the back of my shirt.
Yeah.
I used to wait outside trying to get a photo with him. Still not managed it yet. So no, I definitely like the sound of that. And I know he has had a lot of potential. I think Reading is a very difficult place to play at the minute, for any player in the position that they're in off the pitch. And I wouldn't be surprised if we had been interested in him. And he was also not too bad at Forest Green when he went on loan from United there. And obviously he's gone looking for first team football now. So I think we will bring in a midfielder. Like you said, Moxon was linked with us from Carlisle, who is a talented player for a team that is struggling at the moment. But yeah, I think a midfielder is someone we need to look at now who can come in and play first team games regularly, whether that be Liam Thompson or somebody comes in externally. Because I think Max Bird will be leaving come the summer, or he could leave this January. Who knows?
It's a
Leave it on that
mystery.
note. It's a mystery.
And another mystery, Callum. Corey Smith, we've got a comment from Alex who says, Corey Smith, in or out? I only want a short answer here.
Out.
Cool. Right, Vic. No, I agree, mate. I agree. I mean, we need another central midfielder, don't we, if Bird goes?
Yeah, I think, very quickly, I just wanted to say all the kit launching videos and everything on the billboards will be absolutely knackered if he goes, because he's on every single one of them.
Sorry, Joe, to go in. Yeah. Just
all right.
Yeah, so even talking about like midfielders, and like Adam mentioned about looking in the lower leagues, I think we might have mentioned this on the pod already or in our private chat. Dan Kemp. I think he's at MK Dons, but was on loan at Swindon. I think he was like the 5th or 6th top goal scorer in League 2 as a midfielder and assists as well. Might be worth looking at him. But yeah, I think midfield's going to be a priority, especially if we do lose Bird. And you never know, Sibley might end up going as well. Not that there's any takers for him, but I think moving elsewhere. So I'd take a look lower leagues. I agree with Adam. And Dan Kemp is a name that struck for me. So let's have a look there.
So you reckon we should let our first choice left back leave, Vic? Come on.
Let him go. We struggle. We've got Forsyth forever. It's fine.
I'm hearing Adam Titley can put in a decent cross.
Maybe so.
Can't defend though, so that's where the problems are getting out. I'm joking.
There's a chance for me, yeah, then.
Jim Johnson's put, as long as Charlie waves a scarf towards the Trent end, he can come. Which to some of the younger listeners, that's a reference to Robbie Savage after we beat them, and he went running in front of the Trent end at the City ground. The council owns City grounds. The points deduction City ground, twirling a scarf around, which was very funny. Right, that's enough of that. You can tell this is a weekday night, can't you? Because we're all shattered, can't you? The energy is so low today. Lincoln, right? What are we thinking? You're going as well, aren't you, Adam? Are you going? Yeah, I'm going. Vic's going. What about you, Callum? Are you going to Lincoln away?
I'm working. I have to work.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. I work weekends. Yeah. Adam, what do you reckon? Score prediction, goal scorers. Let us know in the comments as well what you think.
I'll go with a 2-1 win. I think we'll go in front and then be pegged back by an equaliser. I think James Collins will score the opener for us. Maybe a classic cross in the box, and then maybe a cross into the box. Our second favourite way of scoring, and then maybe a John Jules winner. I think he's due another goal now in his regular starts.
Cal,
1-0 win, and I will keep Collins on his train going towards the top goal scorer of the league.
He's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Vic, what about you?
I'm going to be the pessimist now. I'm going for a 1-1 draw. I think we always struggle at Sinsel Bank. We always struggle there. They're a good side. They're a good football inside. So I'll go for a 1-1 draw. Let's go with the John Jules goal.
Now, a win would probably take us top if Peterborough don't win, and I'd quite like that actually, like quite a lot. So I think that it's going to be a 1-0. I think it's going to be Port Vale-esque. I think we'll dominate early on. They'll dominate later on, and then we'll grab one right near the end. I think it'll be an unlikely goal score. It's going to be a weird one. It's going to be one you don't expect, like a Liam Thompson diving header or something like that. Although we've pretty much already seen one of those.
Yeah, seen one of them.
So yeah, I'll go 1-0 Thompson header. And then in the comments, we've got Jim Johnson who says 2-1 win, Colo and NML. I almost said Nathaniel. Yeah, Nathaniel Mendes Lang. And then Godfather says a 5-1 win, which would be brilliant. So yeah, thank you very much for listening. Before we do our goodbyes or say our goodbyes, we've teamed up with Fanatics, aka Kitbag, to basically help you guys get deals on Derby shirts and that sort of stuff. If you look in our bio, there's a link, and if you click that link, you'll be taken to the site, and you can get Derby shirts for like 35% off, which is class. And we'll keep doing offers when they get sent to us, and try and save you guys some money on new shirts and stuff like that. So yeah, check out the link in the description of both the video and the audio if you fancy getting yourself a new shirt or something. But right, thank you so much for listening. If you did enjoy, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, rate us 5 stars. You know the drill by now. So yeah, see you on Sunday. Hope you have a great week. Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
Thank you very much, everyone.